Why isn't it just as easy to say that it does act retroactively?
There's, of course, the famous scene in the Supreme Court, which he told me was one of his favorites to act, and sort of one of my favorites to talk about, where I get to the Supreme Court, right, and it's this crazy situation where I'm, trying to argue that my grandmother's friend can sue a foreign country in the United States to recover these paintings that had been stolen 70 years earlier. I mean, it's sort of a crazy situation.
Because the question is, when should it exercise jurisdiction for a particular purpose?
But I had prepared a lot for the Supreme Court, and I had done practice sessions called moot courts, where professors and lawyers pretend to be the judges and they ask you questions. Because you don't give a speech at the Supreme Court, you get interrupted all the time. So I had answered hundreds of questions like this in practice, and I thought I was ready, and I got up to speak, and I said, there are 4 grounds for affirming the Ninth Circuit. Ground 1 is, and as soon as I finished the first sentence, I got interrupted by Justice Souter. And he started asking me this question, and it was a long, convoluted question, and I heard in my mind, da-da-da, 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 da-da-da. They were like Snoopy characters like they hear the parents, right? Wah, 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 wah.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure I understand the question.
I'm not sure I did either. Does anyone?
I just didn't understand what he was talking about. And so, unfortunately, it's on tape. You can listen to this online if you want. And I say, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't understand the question. And there are these gasps, from the audience. But all the other justices smiled as if to say, oh, don't worry, he does that all the time. We didn't understand it either, right? And of course, he rephrased it, and I answered the question, and it turned out to be the best opening possible because it was an icebreaker, right? I fell on the first jump, right? And they realized I wasn't going to BS. I wasn't going to make things up. I was just, what was I, a kid representing my grandmother's friend?
We're very sensitive to the government's concerns, Mr. Chief Justice. The can of worms argument. But each country is different and poses different conditions. Unlike, say, Cuba, in Austria's case, there's a treaty, so there's no dispute as to what type of law could apply. We recommend opening the can and extracting just the one little worm with a pair of tweezers and then quickly closing it shut again.
I met Brian when we were casting it and immediately really